at all the head coaches that have won a national championship in this tournament over the last, say, 20, 20, you can really pick any amount of years. Just going from the top, starting last year, Todd Golden, Dan Hurley, Bill Self, Scott Drew, Tony Bennett, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Coach K. At the end of the day, it is interesting to me that you just don't see a lot of random coaches on that list. And so that's another thing as I continue to like play the futures market, which is really the only betting I like to do is I like to play the futures market because I get more entertainment value out of it. That's something I look at, and that's going to be a part of my model going forward when I'm picking these teams that can win it all.
All right. Well, let's get right into it then. So I think the best way to go about it, now first, I'm showing up Drew's bracket and his predictions. So all you guys feel free, take a screenshot of this, look through there, make sure, fill out your own bracket. Don't miss out on that. We're going to get this out early to you guys, so take advantage of it. But I think what we'll do is we'll start to the left and then we'll go to the right. Left, let's go over the first weekend. What are some major signs and things that you see in terms of upsets and things to look out for that you think is going to be interesting? And then we'll go over to the right and go over the first weekend with those teams as well.
Yes, I mean, starting at the top, obviously Duke, no surprise there. That TCU Ohio State game, pretty much a coin flip. I got Duke advancing to the Sweet 16. Like I told you, I think they're one of the teams that'll be in it at the end. And then I think Northern Iowa and Cal Bap are going to give, Cal Bap's going to give Kansas everything they can. Northern Iowa is going to make the St. John's game interesting as well. I think these teams will be in it towards the end of the game. Ultimately, I have St. John's and KU advancing, and then KU getting to the Sweet 16. That's ultimately where that will end. South Florida is really good. Like I talked about, they're a team that could come out and steal a game or two. That being said, Mikal Brown Jr. is unbelievable, and it's just you can't believe anything with the injury situation. If he's healthy, he's like going back to the guards. Like there's always these guards in this tournament that just make a name for themselves, and they have that true March moment. He is just, for whatever reason, a guy that all year has been sticking out to me. Like, this guy is going to like hang a serious number in a game, and maybe it's just one. And in this case, I have them winning South Florida and ultimately losing to Michigan State, who I ultimately have in the Sweet 16 against Duke there. And then, UConn, I think I have them losing in the second round against UCF. I think they could even get beat against Furman. Furman's really big and really, really talented too. Solo ball and the Silas injury stuff, I just don't see the guard play that's going to get them there. This team is not the dominant, teams that they've had in the past, obviously, but I see them running out of steam pretty early, which is unfortunate because I really liked them. They were on my teams that could win it all up until 2 or 3 weeks ago. So yeah, Michigan State, Duke coming out there, and then Iowa I think is going to grind out Clemson. I think Troy, ultimately we went over that earlier. I think they get the upset against Nebraska, and ultimately run into Vanderbilt. A lot of people see McNeese and they think, and they see the 5-12 in this situation, and they're thinking like, okay, McNeese has been frisky over the years. Keep in mind, Will Wade took the whole team with him to NC State. This is not the same McNeese team as we've seen in the past, not even close. Vandy's playing at a totally different level. Like I expect Vanderbilt to advance and ultimately get to the Sweet 16 in that one. And then I actually disagree with you on the UNC thing, man. I think that, and it's more just a gut feeling because obviously Wilson is out. I feel like Seth Trimble is a guy that's going to have his March moment. Um, and Vassar, they've got some dudes, and to me, there's always a spot on the bracket where you go. A lot of people are picking the upset because either somebody's out or whatever it may be, and it starts to pick up steam. And then the game happens and they just roll them. This to me seems like one of those games where we just look up and and I got a lot of respect for VCU. I know you like them. They're A10. They're solid, but I think that UNC actually, I have UNC actually getting to the Sweet 16 as well. I think that's where it stops, but I think Trimble and Vassar and some of these guys can actually carry them, and I think that could even be the narrative as we get closer. Like, hey, can you believe they're pulling this off without Caleb Wilson? So, and then at the bottom, I got one of the third team that I think can win it all. We already went over Duke and Arizona, Houston. I've got Houston winning the South. That three-headed monster with Uzan, Sharp, and Kingston Flemings. Again, Kingston Flemings, he's going to have his March moment. People are going to learn his name, and if they can get the three, if Samson can get the three of those guys cooking, and you've got those front court guys so long, so athletic, they're so dominant. You're going to have to kill Houston 100 times to knock them out of this tournament. And I almost brought them up on my underrated list because nobody's talking about them, and rightfully so. They've been kind of trash. They've not trash, but they've been underperforming, and they lose the close ones. And anytime it gets tight, they seem to lose it. But I think when it really counts, especially the fact that they went all the way there last year and lost and had that game run the entire time, just had to have been so brutal for them. I think they ultimately make it to the national championship, and I think that's going to be an instant classic. So that kind of completes the left side for me.
I'll go over my left side just real quick here. Again, Duke, no question. I will say, now, I also thought it was a coin flip between Ohio State and TCU. I am kind of interested if it's Ohio State that makes it out and goes up against Duke. I think it will be a better game than what people will think. But again, if Duke loses in the first week, just burn the whole bracket. I'm just watching as a fan at that point. Just happy to be there. St. John's in Kansas, man, I'm going to tell you, they're going to ruin a lot of people's brackets because they just don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's about to happen to them, man. But I had St. John at least being good enough to make it to the Sweet 16. But asking them to have a good offensive performance 3 games in a row, I feel like it's too much to ask. So I think they'll get the jump on Kansas only because I do trust that there's just way more cohesion, and that's probably one of my biggest red flags and why I want to stay away from the team if I feel like there's internal problems with the team. Now, obviously, I have my spiel about Illinois, but this Kansas team is a lost cause this year. I think they're going to chop it up and be an early exit. So I had St. John's actually going over Kansas and making it to the Sweet 16 here. I actually have South Florida beating Louisville. Again, if the guy can play, he's going to play. It's as simple as that. So we really don't know. It's going to be interesting, but just like you said, that South Florida team is actually very scary, and they're actually in a pretty solid position to at least make it to the second weekend. But I don't have them doing that. Michigan State, in a way, is my dark horse. It's just I don't think I should say that since they're a 3 seed. But I still believe in the Izzo effect, and more importantly, he's had some pretty bad teams that overachieved in the past. I don't want to say always think about the past when you go with this, but for some reason, he's just found a way to elevate his team and get the most out of them when it's time for them to perform. And I think as a unit, this team is better than what they've had over the past few years. Obviously, everyone is all in on Jeremiah Fears. Again, I really don't know what I'm going to get out of him. I think at least at the beginning, he's going to have a really good showcasing. I'm just more nervous of the later games. I think they'll be fine in making it to the Sweet 16. It's just after that, I'm a little bit nervous on what type of performance I'm going to get out of him. But everything else, solid. Crashing on the boards, playing good defense, good late game adjustment. It's all there. So any team that beats Michigan State, they're not going to get blown out. I'll say it like that. They're definitely not going to get blown out. So any team that faces Michigan State is going to be a dogfight to the end. I think the only thing that's interesting in this East region is I also don't like UConn to go that far. In my scenario, I have UCLA winning and then making it to the second weekend. I think it's a really interesting spot that they're at. Because really the thought is that they're a great matchup against UConn. I'm not really sure. I don't know too much about this UCF team. This UCF team can actually, like, they could beat this UCLA team, and then that kind of mess up the thought process on this. But I'm going to trust in my guys. I used to be a UCLA fan back in the day. I used to like them. So I'm hoping they don't screw me over, and they can make it to the second weekend here for me. And then lower in this bracket, we have Florida. I mean, it's Florida. Iowa, Clemson. I think that's more of a toss-up. I agree with you. Statistically speaking, this is free game for the audience. You know, a lot of upsets tend to happen between 12-5 and 6-11. That's usually good spots to pick upsets. I think people are a little bit too trigger happy with this one and trying to pick McNeese. I think Vanderbilt is phenomenal, and I think Vanderbilt, they can make it to the Sweet 16. It's going to be a horrible matchup for Florida. I don't think they're going to like that at all. That's going to be an interesting one. Just like you said, the second weekend might be the best weekend that we've seen in a while with some of these matchups that we have. So I'm excited for that. Nebraska, I just want to give you your shine because this is the last time I'm ever going to mention Nebraska. Please do not mess this up. This is probably the best chance you'll have to win your first March Madness game. Please don't blow this. Just win one. That's all I'm asking for. Just win one for me. That's all I need. They've been terrible. They've been absolutely terrible. And this Troy team, again, these kids are feisty. That's the best way to describe it, man. These teams, they see these bigger teams like this. They got cooler things, NIL money, free snacks, and all that stuff. They're going to give them a good run. This is going to be a close game. But man, Nebraska, please. I think they give it their all on this first game and find a way to win. And then after that, they just don't care. And Vanderbilt just puts hands on them. Put their paws on them, essentially. I do have an upset with VCU in North Carolina, and my only reason why is I just think Caleb Wilson being out is just such a big hit on the team, and I think it's just very hard for them to be able to adjust that quickly versus a team that I do think is comparable to them and has enough talent and has enough shooting ability to actually get them off the court. So I think it's going to be a tough one for them. I think it could go either way, but I lean more on VCU on that one. I have Illinois. Illinois, again, you could consider them somewhat of a sleeper team, but man, I just think if they stay hot and they can just keep that locker room together, man, they can go pretty far. And I'm super interested they make it to the Sweet 16 with this matchup against Houston because, and the last team, I obviously have Houston going through the Sweet 16. Go ahead, right side of the bracket. Don't want to take too much thunder from you. Yeah, go ahead, man. Talk your stuff. What you got for me here?
Yeah, man. I mean, Arizona's my team that's winning it all. So obviously they're coming out of there. Going back to what I said about the round of 32, circle this one. Wisconsin, Arkansas. Both those teams, like Wisconsin going against High Point, Arkansas going against Hawaii in Portland, I believe. That's not going to be an easy one. But if both those teams get out of there, that Wisconsin-Arkansas game could be a treat. I ultimately, and I hate to say this because I love A-Cup. Like I told you, I think he's the best player in the draft. Like based on what I see, he's going to be an immediate contributor at the next level. So I got Wisconsin coming out of there. I mean, I think that's going to be a tough game, but ultimately I see them leaning on them. I see them forcing, Arkansas into some mistakes. And ultimately I think Wisconsin pulls that off. And then I think that Sweet 16 game with Arizona and Wisconsin will be unbelievable. But going down the bracket even further, I've got BYU getting out of the winner between NC State and Texas. Now I will say, like, I like NC State a lot, and I like NC State to win this first 4 game, and I really like NC State chances of beating BYU because, like I said earlier, they've basically got a lot of the guys from McNeese last year. Will Wade is a good coach. Like they're a solid team in the ACC that's like could win a game or two. Ultimately, I have BYU winning, beating NC State or Texas, whoever gets out. And then Gonzaga, I have them beating Kennesaw. And, nobody's talking about Gonzaga, which is why they kind of scare me right now. But I've seen them, and Gonzaga is the team that I promise you will never get it done. The best year was 17 or whatever it was with, they had Karnowski, and they went up against Duke and ultimately lost in the national championship. But no way. I think that they win one and ultimately get bounced. I think BYU and Davansa just has an incredible couple games and gets them to the Sweet 16. Ultimately, I think that's where it ends. So Zaga, BYU, I got BYU advancing. I think Davansa is just going to have to go crazy, and Robert Wright and those guys, now that Saunders is out, Keita is going to have to be really strong. But I got them advancing, and ultimately I have Mizzou beating Miami. Obviously, I think they can get that done in what is pretty much going to be a home game. And then Purdue, they're going to smash Queens. I think it just won't even be close. And ultimately, I think they pull out a tough one against Mizzou and then go up against BYU. Like I said, here we are, and the bracket, if it turns out anywhere near this, it breaks in a way where Purdue now goes up against BYU for a chance to get to the Elite Eight, and I ultimately have Purdue winning that game. In the Midwest, this is where it gets interesting. So I got Michigan winning this first game. I've got SLU beating Georgia. I think Georgia, they've got one really good big that does pretty much all their rebounding, and he's huge. He's like 6'11", 260, 270 pounds. If Robbie, if you're going to guard Robbie, you got to be out on the perimeter guarding these screen actions, and you got to be guarding DHOs, and there's a lot of flare screens, and there's a lot of stuff going on the perimeter. If we drag him out, I don't know how comfortable he's going to be defensively. So if there's a world in which A, we get him in foul trouble, or B, he has to leave the game because of a mismatch situation, that would be huge for us, because I think there's an opportunity on the offensive and defensive boards here, because Georgia really doesn't play a lot of defense, and they will score, but ultimately I think we beat them. I think this is a good matchup for us. I think the boys are going to be locked in for this. Texas Tech. Well, before I go there, let me just say that I actually I have SLU beating Michigan in the second round. And I'll just get that out of the way. Obviously, I'm a homer. I love this team. I go to the practices. I'm like, they're a big part of my life. I've been a SLU fan for a very long time. I love this coach. I love this team. So obviously, that's going to sway me. But ultimately, again, like, with all the when I saw, because I think everyone in St. Louis was waiting for us to maybe hopefully get the 10 seed, because then we'd be back in St. Louis. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if we get the 8 or the 9, what 1 seed would we rather go against? And for me, it was simple. It was Michigan or Florida, and honestly, I really wanted it to be Michigan because, again, same thing, Mata. He's huge, and he could absolutely punish us inside, and maybe that's how they get us. But how comfortable is Mata going to be in these DHOs and these screens as Robbie? And he's going to have to guard the pick and pop because Robbie likes to slide out. If you're guarding Robbie, you had a lot of responsibilities because the whole offense runs through him. So that's number one. Number two, I just think our guards are better. I don't think Cadeau's that good. I don't think Yaxel Lindenberg is even a professional. I don't think he's an NBA player. They're talking about him being, a top 10 pick potentially. He's going to be playing in China within 4 years. He is, and he talks a lot of shit, which I can appreciate, but like, that dude is bow-legged, running around. He's a great college player. He's a bully of a guard who, he's 22, 23 years old. He's a hell of a competitor. He can shoot a little bit, but like when I'm watching Yaxel Lindenberg, I'm not thinking to myself like, wow, like this guy's dazzling. He's doing it all. He's incredibly skilled. He's a big guard that goes downhill, and defensively he can guard 1 through 5, which is why I think the ceiling for him is like Lou Dort, who went undrafted. Look, I'm just like trusting my eyes here. He is not like I really like will plant my flag there. Like he is not going to be contributing on an NBA level ever. I really don't think so. So I think SLU, what we do, offensively, and the screens that they're going to have to guard on the outside, and 3-point shooters, if we can get hot, I think we can stretch that team out and really kind of put them through hell and ultimately get that dub. So I've got SLU getting to the Sweet 16 there. Texas Tech, again, like Anderson, now with this injury, we know Toppin is out. If I'm assuming these guys are healthy. So like I think that's circle that one too. Like the Akron Texas Tech game, get ready for that because Akron's very, very good. Ultimately, I have Texas Tech winning that one though. And then Alabama is just a shit show. Aiden Holloway gets charged today, and all these distractions. I know you've got them going pretty far. Listen, they score the most points in the country. They're spectacular offensively. Same with Underwood, man. Like, give Nate Oates like all the 5-star players in the world. Like I promise you, he'll screw it up. I promise. Like he will do that for you. I don't think, and Hofstra's a pretty solid team. Ultimately, I think Hofstra gets this done against a very disorganized, distracted team in Alabama, and then I think that paves the way for Texas Tech to slide into that Sweet 16 spot and ultimately face SLU there. And then Tennessee, I have Miami of Ohio beating SMU. I think that's going to be tough, but I think they can ultimately get it done. It's a good story. Ultimately, that'll end against Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee is going to go far because I've seen them in person this year. I've watched them a lot. They're big. If you don't have size, they will annihilate you. I mean, those Rick Barnes teams always look the same. I mean, Casey is like a football player. He's huge. I mean, they've got huge guys, and they're really like playing volleyball around the rim. I think they're going to smash whoever comes out of that first 4 game. Virginia, I've got beating Wright State after that, and then I've got ultimately Virginia advancing past Tennessee. I think they've got what it takes in their experience in the ACC to get that one done. I'll be here for this one. First game of the day, Santa Clara, Kentucky. I'm excited for this. Right now, Santa Clara's plus 3.5. That ended up being a huge win for SLU in the grand scheme of things, getting that win early. So many people are hopping on this that I'm almost, concerned at this point, but I'm taking Santa Clara against Kentucky, who's just been all over the place all year. I mean, I'm not like losing sleep over it. And then Iowa State, I think ultimately they've been in a lull. They played a lot of their best basketball early, but I think is able to make a run here. And ultimately I have them beating Tennessee State, ultimately beating Santa Clara and advancing to the Sweet 16 in that one.
Yeah, I would say this Midwest bracket, before I go through the whole thing, I think it's Iowa State's bracket to mess up at this point. Yeah, I mean, they, again, just like you said, they've been a little off and on as of late, but just from a talent perspective and just looking at who they have to go against here, I mean, dude, Virginia in the Sweet 16 potentially, like, you'll take that all day. Like, come on, man. Now let's just encompass the rest of the bracket. So we have the Elite Eight going all the way to the championship game. I'll let you take the lead on that. Obviously, we're starting off with Duke here, so let's hear your Duke propaganda here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so Duke KU at the top here. This is just ultimately where it ends. It could end a lot earlier for KU, to be honest. Like I said, Calbat is going to give them a test, and St. John's, if they get there, they will as well. But ultimately, Duke's just more together, better coached, I think, and just ultimately something's going on with Peterson. Duke is ultimately going to get that done. Michigan State, and I've got UCF. So I've got UCF beating UCLA. That's another one of those games where I feel like the conversation is going to be about UCLA, and we're going to lose sight of the fact that UCF is a solid Big 12 team that's been tested. I think they get that done, and I think they beat UConn. UCF has two guards that average 40 and 41% from three, and they've got 4 or 5 guys in double figures that average double figures. And so I think I've got UCF in that one. Ultimately, I've got Michigan State over UCF in that Sweet 16 there. And then Duke and Michigan State play. And I think without the big man, if the big man is not back for Duke, Big Pat, they're in a world of trouble because Kohler and Cooper can hurt them. Especially Kohler can really bury guys under the basket and have his way with them. If he's back, I think that they're going to be just fine, and they're ultimately going to get past Michigan State. But that's going to be an incredible game. It just feels like Michigan State is in these late rounds of these tournaments, and it's always an instant classic, man. So I think that's going to be a great one. So Duke coming out of the East, Sweet 16 for the South, Florida and Vandy. I think Vandy's got Florida's number. I think Vandy's guards are better. I ultimately think this is where the run ends for Florida for that reason. Vandy's hot. They're underrated. With Duke Miles back, I think that they're, I think that they're going to win that game. UNC, Houston. This is where it ends for UNC. In my bracket, this is where it all ends. I mean, ultimately, without Caleb Wilson, it's going to catch up to them. I think Seth Trimble is going to have a great game or two, but Houston's just going to strangle them out. And then Houston and Vandy, I think that's going to be an incredible game. But ultimately, I think that Houston can contain Miles and Duke. Tanner, and Duke Miles in a way that's just going to. Ultimately, they're just going to lean on them, and I think that Houston is just destined, is either this year or never. I mean, they're really. I think that they can actually get it done this year. So I have them beating Vandy and meeting Duke in the Final Four semifinals. On the right side, in the West, Arizona, Wisconsin. Whether that's Arizona, Wisconsin, or Arizona, Arkansas, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be one to absolutely watch. That's going to be the region that is going to be very exciting. And I think that ultimately Arizona gets it done, but I think it's just another one that's just potential for instant classic. BYU, Purdue, this is where it ends for them. I think the bracket's just going to break in a way where it works out for Purdue, and that's evident here. I think Purdue is ultimately going to face Arizona, which should be a pretty good game. But ultimately, I have Arizona coming out of the West, as you know. Down to the Midwest bracket. So I've got SLU and Texas Tech. If Texas Tech is fully healthy, I think, as much as it pains me to say, I think that's where it ends for us. It'd be easy for me to pick them here, especially after you beat Michigan, then technically the tournament opens up for you, right? But I think that's where it ends for us there. Virginia and Iowa State. Again, I'm not a big Virginia guy either, and I think Iowa State's just simply better. Jefferson and Lipsy, Momcilovic, those guys can really, if they can get it together, they should make quick work of them. And then Texas Tech, Iowa State. I've got Iowa State advancing to play Arizona in the semifinal.
Your Final Four is Duke, Houston, Arizona, and Iowa State.
Yep. I told you, I thought there would be there's going to be some chaos, but ultimately I just see it being chalky in the end, man. I know it's not the most exciting result, but it's I think the one that we're going to wish we had at the end, because it didn't work out. The Houston-Florida game was really good, and it ended in a way where it just kind of ended poorly, the way that it just wasn't great. But I think in the end, you want those best 4 teams from a viewing standpoint. So that's what I got there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think from my side, now there's definitely a lot more parity on my bracket, but that's the fun. That's what you want to see,
That's
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, starting with the Sweet 16. Yeah, Duke all the way. Again, they're just a machine, and even with some of the players that they have down right now, man, they're just so overwhelming, so talented, and the coach that they have for that team, man, he's just an absolute stud. People know who he is, but I still don't think he's getting the respect he deserves. Like, he's got to be mentioned up there, top of the top. He really should. I mean, I got Arkansas winning it all, but everyone's still talking about John Calipari and everything. I think this Duke guy needs his flowers at this point, just what he's been able to do with this program and how he's all this talent that he keeps having cycling through there. I saw a fun graphic where it showed if everyone like stayed in college for all 4 years, what their team would be right now. I mean, it would literally be an NBA team. It's insane. I mean, Proctor's still on the team, Filipowski, Jared McCain, wherever anyone feels about them, but still on that team. Um, yeah, so it's just insane the amount of talent that they have and able to retain. And thank God for everyone in college football or college basketball that there's still a one and done, because those guys just stayed. If they just decided that their education mattered a little bit, I mean, they would have had the talent to two-peat, if not three-peat. It's just insane. But enough about my Duke spiel, because I know everyone hates Duke. It's the easy choice. But this Michigan State, I think what makes me like Michigan State so much is Tom Izzo had this thing. I mean, he's just talking, but he always said he knew his team had some dogs when they start pressing him and start arguing with him about the standard and stuff like that. And there's definitely been some clips and things out here that you see that this team has been like that to him this year. He feels a certain way about this team. I trust his judgment. I think that's why I feel so good about this Michigan State team and what they're able to do. And then also, I had UCLA, but between UCLA and UCF, I think they're in a great position to actually beat UConn. I just don't think this is the same UConn that we're used to seeing. It's just their version of a down year, if you want to call it that. But I don't see them making it that far. And even if they were to make it far, I still like Michigan State. I'm just stuck on them. I love that team. But and then going for down in the bracket, we got Florida and Vanderbilt. Now I'm looking at this, and I'm not gonna lie, you definitely have made me want to reconsider my choices here, because I have Florida making it out. I think this is a little bit more wide open than what people think. And, Vandy is in a great position to beat Florida here. Obviously, I'm really high on Illinois. There's a world where Illinois makes it out of this bracket. And then, of course, Houston is really just the standard at this point. I mean, they're monsters, and they always have been. I think there's just, like you said, there's just a couple of games where their offense just really didn't put it together. That has people worried. But, hey, rest assured, that defense is there. That defense will take you to your seat. It's there, and it's not going anywhere. And the coach, absolutely phenomenal. Love the guy. And just like you said, they were in the championship last year and lost in heartbreak fashion. You have to think that's all they're talking about. And a team motivated like that stuff matters. Like, there's weird, corny, psychological things that matter, but whatever you can put and instill in a group of players to keep them in phase, in the zone, that's always going to make them dangerous. And that's what March Madness is most of the time. It's really just that last 5 minutes of focus to end the game. So I think between Houston, Illinois, Vanderbilt, and Florida, there's a path for any of those teams to make it out of that region. So I think Sweet 16 and beyond is going to be really exciting. For me, I had Florida and Illinois in the Elite Eight, and then I had Florida beating them and making it into the Final Four. And then going into the West bracket, I have Arizona, Arkansas. Again, probably going to be the best game in all of March Madness if we can get that matchup. That's going to be amazing. I hope it happens. I am completely captured by Arkansas, so I got Arkansas beating them out. But if Arizona beats Arkansas, they're going to run the table on the whole region and make it out. So dealer's choice on whichever team you're more comfortable with. And then below, I have Gonzaga and Missouri. Now, there's a world here. Again, if Purdue beats Missouri, then Purdue for sure would make it to the Elite Eight. At least would have a shot against an Arkansas or Arizona. Personally, I had Gonzaga and Missouri, and then I had Gonzaga winning, and then I had Arkansas making it out of the region. But I do want to put that disclaimer in there. In a way, I'm kind of asking a lot from Mizzou, but I mean, this is one of their best chances. Just the environment that's going to be out there. I got faith in them. I don't think they're going to steer me wrong. And then in the Midwest bracket, we have Michigan and Alabama. I'm telling you, people are going to clip this. This is going to be bad for me. I do have Alabama making it out of the region. This one might be bad, but I'm going to ride with it. I'm going to be crazy, but y'all going to have to believe me. And then I have Virginia and Iowa State. I'll say it again. It's Iowa State's bracket to lose, honestly. They have enough talent to really make it out of that region. And if I had a do-over, I definitely would have had them making it to the Final Four. But I'm rolling with what I have here. So I have Duke, Arkansas, Florida, and Alabama in the Final Four.
I like that. And one thing I wanted to you were talking about earlier, the coaches in that Eastern region, how it's just like Hall of Fame, and it really is more noise than anything. But I'm gonna look this up real quick because you said that was okay. I thought this was interesting because I've been over the years I've been trying to find a formula, like since I've been watching this tournament for over 25 years. Like, what are the common denominators? And for me, it's like two guards that can go out and get you a bucket when it all breaks down. Having a rim defense, like a real rim protector, like a guy that can really just set the tone. And then ultimately, the last thing is having a really, really good coach. Because if you look at all of the head coaches that have won a national championship in this tournament over the last, say, 20, you can really pick any amount of years. Just going from the top, starting last year: Todd Golden, Dan Hurley, Bill Self, Scott Drew, Tony Bennett, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Coach K, Kevin Ollie. And I don't want to throw any shade at Kevin Ollie, but if you remember, I believe he had inherited from Calhoun the Boatwright and Shabazz Napier senior year. So he kind of inherited a stacked lineup. Either way, they got it done. Then after that, you got Rick Pitino, John Calipari, Jim Calhoun, Coach K, Roy Williams, Bill Self, Billy Donovan, Roy Williams, Jim Calhoun, Jim Boeheim, Coach K. So, like, at the end of the day, it is interesting to me that you just don't see a lot of random coaches on that list. And so that's another thing as I continue to play the futures market, which is really the only betting I like to do is I like to play the futures market because I get more entertainment value out of it. That's something I look at, and that's going to be a part of my model going forward when I'm picking these teams that can win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that that was a great breakdown of what you said there. And, March Madness is parody. It's fun and stuff, but there's a realm of logic and probability that you can piece together that you're probably going to be more right than you are wrong. Now, listen, I would love to have met the guy that had St. Peter's making it to, the Sweet 16. Like, I get it. I would love to have met that guy. But for the most part, you're going to be way more right than you are wrong. And just like when you work these it's in a way it's an algorithm, but if you can piece off certain things that you see through experience of watching the game, like, that's going to do so much from you. That's going to do so much better for you than you would actually think. And again, these ESPN guys that you watch, like, we can do that job because I don't think they're really watching the games. They're just coming up with brackets. People who actually watch, there's people who are legitimately good at picking March Madness winners and creating really solid brackets. And it's just like you said, just understanding trends, putting together probabilities and all that stuff. And everything after that is really just parity. So, you're hoping for the best. But I guess to round this out, though, you have the final four teams. Go ahead, go over. Who do you have winning it all? Give your spiel. Convince these people why should we trust you and pick this certain team to win it all here.
Yeah, it's just they have all the pieces. They've got two unbelievable guards, obviously Burries and Jaden Bradley. And he's proven himself in big moments. Like I said earlier, two guards that could go out and get you a bucket when it all breaks down. Those two guys can do that. They've got Awaka and the other big man. I mean, they've got rim protectors. That Korechnikov, I hope I said his name right. He's unbelievable. He's like 6'7", 6'8". He's like a pro. He's like an actual pro. And he's very under control, and he's a big-time problem out there. They've got a couple of European guys on that team that are really good. Ultimately, they can put 8 really good guys on the floor. We know that the rotations are going to shrink. Even SLU, they play 10 guys. That'll probably shrink. I mean, it's going to... it's definitely going to shrink, and having 8 guys that you can go trust goes a long way. And so ultimately, Iowa State, they've just been so back and forth all year. I just think that that's where it ends. I think Arizona's just going to be too much to handle. I have Arizona coming out of that side, and then Duke and Houston. I think it's just going to be maybe the best game of the bunch. Going to be an unbelievable game that game truly will end up being a coin flip if Caleb Foster especially is healthy. But I just think that Houston's going to be too hungry, and Kelvin Sampson is such a good coach, and I think he's got those guys really bought in and ready to go. And I think that this is the year that they get it done, or not get it done ultimately, but this is they will beat Duke in this spot, I believe. And then in the final, I'd love to see Houston win it. To be honest, I think this is going to be another damn near coin flip, but I gotta give the tilt to Arizona just because they're deeper. And, I think guard-wise, you could give the edge to Houston, but Houston's just not nearly as deep. And this Arizona team has been tested all year. I mean, these two teams have played each other. They just did. Arizona was able to, they had a pretty big lead, but ultimately Houston fought back, and they were able to get Houston out of there. But I've got Arizona over Houston, 83-79. Threw a little score in there for you too as a little bonus, but that's what I see, man. I think it's the Arizona for so many years for me was the team that can't get it done. I think this is the year that they make it happen, man. I really do.
Yeah, again, it's probably one of the most talented Arizona teams I've ever seen, to be real. Yeah, I respect that. And listen, I've been through this folly with Purdue before, because I used to feel that way about Purdue. But then they really did put together a championship team, and it showed up. So I don't want to discount that. Like, when you see the talent, believe it, basically.
Yep.
And I say that having them lose to Arkansas, so here I am.
Hey, madness, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So, your thoughts on Arizona is in a way, I kind of think that about Arkansas too. I mean, their guard play is just absolutely elite. They do have rim protectors. They have a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, they have all the tangibles that you need. And just specifically with a guy like Acuff, like when you run into a player like that can single-handedly take over a game, and you have such a solid, well-rounded group around you, I mean, it's pretty much impossible. So I'll say it like this: between Arizona and Arkansas, whoever's making it out of that region, between those two, they're going to beat the lower region, the Midwest team, whoever makes it out of there. that's my spiel, man. I believe in Arkansas, man. Hey, trust me. All right, I wouldn't steer you guys wrong. Just trust me on this one. All right, but you guys absolutely down in the comments, man. Please let me know. I mean, are we crazy? Did we just talk some legitimate ball to you guys? I mean, this is amazing. Obviously, Drew, I appreciate you being on. This has been
Absolutely.
incredible. You gave the guys some real ball knowledge to actually sit on. But yeah, I would say comment down below. What is your team? Who do you think is actually going to win the national championship? And really just have a conversation. I mean, we got a little bit of time here before the games actually start. Let's talk it out, guys. Let's try to create the perfect bracket here. If I can help someone make a perfect bracket, if it's not my own, if I can help someone make a perfect bracket, I mean, that's all I can ask for. But Drew, I mean, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Any last little bit of game you want to give people?
Last thing I'll say is everybody just enjoy it, man. These next few weeks are going to be a lot of fun. I think college basketball, they said that across all the networks is up, ratings were up 67%, something like that. And, you still got the DeBansas, the Petersons, and guys that are going to do one and done. But I think the great thing about NIL is these really good college players that are like not necessarily going to be pros, but can make really good money staying back at school. You're already starting to see the compilation of that, the compounding effect of that in old teams getting older. It's really not great for freshmen. That's a whole other discussion, but like Jacob Jr., he rose to the top. And so ultimately, all that to say, the product is going to be better and better every year. And I think that this year is going to be an incredible tournament coming off the heels of last year, which I think was one of the, it just lacked that madness, that entertainment value that it usually has. I think that, that'll obviously happen from time to time, but I think that this is going to be a great one. And I think college basketball is in a great spot. And I think the product is just honestly better than ever. Just watching some of these teams during conference week, a lot of these teams just look like, mini pro teams. It's incredible. So everybody just enjoy it. And thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no problem, man. Welcome on anytime you want to talk ball with the crew. I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate this, but listen, that's enough yapping out of the two of us for sure. Again, guys, don't forget, like the video, man, and check out all of our other stuff. We're gonna keep posting. It doesn't end here. We're gonna give out updates, everything that's going on, and obviously cover all the other sports that are going on. This is actually a great year for sports across the board. I mean, we didn't even have time, but just watching the World Baseball Classic, and now USA's in the finals, but that USA versus Dominican game, like, I'm not gonna open up another conversation, but man,
Incredible.
sports, man, sports is back. This is a great year to really get into sports, really watch teams, man. We got the World Cup coming here pretty soon.
yeah.
I mean, it's just so much fun. But other than that, guys, I appreciate you. Check out all of our other stuff, and of course, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.